Hi, it's Mike at 18 Reasons. Today we're going to whip up a really quick tart dough or galette dough. I've got a half a cup of whole wheat flour and a cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to add in a fat Mike-sized pinch of salt and whisk those to combine them well. Then one of my favorite pastry tricks, in all honesty, I was a pastry chef for about 9 months of my career. It is not my nature, but I learned a couple of things that I can share. We need to work the butter into the dough, and the object is to have little tiny pieces of butter surrounded by the dry ingredients, the flour, so that our dough is tender, and as it bakes, the butter turns to steam and we get flaky dough. Everybody wants flaky dough. I've got 3 ounces of frozen butter and a grater. This is one way of doing this particular dough. We have a fabulous series of classes on seasonal galettes taught by our instructor Marie. She goes into great detail and depth on not only the dough but the fillings for seasonal galettes. This is just a quick Monday with Mike. I like the way that this breaks the butter up. I have always found that if you use other methods like your fingers, I have a problem with that. My hands are really warm and I tend to melt the butter. But with the grater and frozen butter, I get lots of little tiny shards of butter I can distribute easily into the dough. A very important rule is to stop grating before the butter turns red. There we go. With that butter all broken up, I'm going to clean off my grater here. I'm now going to take my fingers and just evenly distribute that butter into the dough. All those little pieces already formed. I win. We're going to use science to cheat. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of vinegar. Glutens form less readily in an acidic environment, and so the acid's going to help keep our pastry tender. I'm going to add an egg yolk, and I'm going to start with about a tablespoon of ice water. Again, glutens form less readily in a cold environment. The ice water helps prevent long strands of gluten. And I'm only going to add ice water till this dough barely comes together. I don't want a wet dough here. I want a dough that just barely hangs. When I squeeze it, it should hold together. It's still a little bit dry, but we're almost there. And once it gets close, I'm going to take it out of the bowl onto my work surface. And then one of my favorite ways of finishing it off. It's very close right now. I need just a little bit of water, so I'm going to wet my hands. That is going to add just about the right amount of water into the dough to make it hold together. And again, we're only looking for a dough that barely hangs. I'm pushing it into a disc so that later when I roll it out, it's already the correct shape. And we are just about there. I'm going to clean off my hands. A good dough shouldn't stick to your hands once it's all come together and we've gotten the water off our hands and into the dough. There we go. I will have a dough that just barely hangs together, and we'll put it on a piece of plastic wrap and pop it into the fridge for up to 3 days. This will allow a little bit of very slow gluten development as the glutens grab moisture. The dough will tend to come together and get a little bit more firm and be easy to roll out. This is Mike at 18 Reasons. Let's cook together.